Good afternoon, everybody. I want us to look at a couple of recent articles by the New York Times and Wall Street Journal in regards to the origins of COVID-19. Now, these are fairly new articles and they have caused quite a firestorm lately in the media. And I just want to start off very quickly with pointing out that over the past year, many of us have held to the opinion or have been of the opinion that we were not being told the truth or the facts in regards to COVID-19, especially in regards to its origins. Okay. A lot of us had opinions that this thing originated in a lab. Okay. And then there were scientists and virologists who came forward with evidence and with research that pointed to it very likely coming from a laboratory and not of natural origin, as was the official narrative of the World Health Organization, the CDC, Fauci, the government, mainstream media, and all that. Okay, the mainstream media and social media treated everything that the World Health Organization, Fauci, and the CDC said like it was divine scripture, that it was absolutely not to be questioned. And if you dared to have an opinion contrary to the official narrative, or you posted anything in contrary to the official narrative, if you came out with anything that, no matter how credible it was or what evidence there was for it, if you posted that or you came forth with that, you were attacked, you were shunned, you were slandered, and on social media, you had your social media accounts banned or taken down altogether. That's happened to me several times. So everything that the CDC and Fauci and the World Health Organization said over the past year has been treated like they were God, like they could not be questioned. And now we have the New York Times and Wall Street Journal coming forward with information that seems to point in the direction, according to scientists, that this thing indeed likely may have originated from a lab. Okay, we're going to start with the New York Times article. Another group of scientists calls for further inquiry into the origins of the coronavirus. Researchers urge an open mind, saying lack of evidence leaves theories of natural spillover and laboratory leak both viable. This was posted May 13th of this year. A group of 18 scientists stated Thursday in a letter published in the journal Science that there is not enough evidence to decide whether a natural origin or an accidental laboratory leak caused the COVID-19 pandemic. They argued, as the U.S. government and other countries have, for a new investigation to explore where the virus came from. The organizers of the letter, Jesse Bloom, who studies the evolution of viruses at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle, and David Relman, a microbiologist at Stanford University, said they strove to articulate a wait-and-see viewpoint that they believe is shared by many scientists. Many of the signers have not spoken out before. Quote, most of the discussion you hear about SARS-CoV-2 origins at this point is coming from, I think, the relatively small number of people who feel very certain about their views, Dr. Bloom said. He added, quote, anybody who's making statements with a high level of certainty about this is just outstripping what's possible to do with the available evidence, end quote. The new letter stated theories of accidental release from a lab and zoonotic spillover both remain viable. Proponents of the idea that the virus may have leaked from a lab, especially the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China, where SARS viruses were studied, have been active this year since a World Health Organization team issued a report claiming that such a leak was extremely unlikely. And get this, even though the mission never investigated any Chinese labs. Did you catch that? Okay, and we continue. The team did visit the Wuhan lab, but did not investigate it. A lab investigation was never part of their mandate. The report, produced in a mission with Chinese scientists, drew extensive criticism from the U.S. government and others that the Chinese government had not cooperated fully and had limited the international scientists' access to information. Most of us have known this for over a year. For most of us, this is not some new revelation, okay? Let's go on to the Wall Street Journal. And this was posted this past Sunday. Wall Street Journal: intelligence on 6 staff at Wuhan lab fuels debate on COVID-19 origin. Report says researchers went to hospital in November 2019, shortly before confirmed outbreak. Adds to calls for probe of whether virus escaped lab. Okay. And May 23rd, 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough in November 2019 that they sought hospital care, according to a previously undisclosed U.S. intelligence report that could add weight to growing calls for a fuller probe of whether the COVID-19 virus may have escaped from the laboratory. The details of the reporting go beyond a State Department fact sheet issued during the final days of the Trump administration, which said that several researchers at the lab, a center for the study of coronaviruses and other pathogens, became sick in autumn 2019, quote, with symptoms consistent with both COVID-19 and common seasonal illness, end quote. The disclosure of the number of researchers, the timing of their illnesses, and their hospital visits come on the eve of a meeting of the World Health Organization's decision-making body, which is expected to discuss the next phase of an investigation into COVID-19's origins. Current and former officials familiar with the intelligence about the lab researchers expressed differing views about the strength of the supporting evidence for the assessment. One person said that it was provided by an international partner and was potentially significant, but still in need of further investigation and additional corroboration. I find this hilarious because, like I said, over the past year, many people have come forth with opinions and information that pointed to a lab origin, but they were immediately shut down. They were immediately shunned. They were slandered and censored, okay? In September of last year, there was a virologist from Hong Kong who came on Tucker Carlson's show, and she blatantly said that she believed it would definitely come from a lab and that the Chinese government unleashed it intentionally. PolitiFact, now you might be, if you're like me and you get banned a lot on Facebook, you're probably very familiar with PolitiFact. They're one of these fact checkers for social media giants like Facebook and Twitter and others that, when you post something that goes against the narrative, they'll either flag your post with a shaded area where it says, this has been fact checked or whatever. And it's usually from people like PolitiFact, okay? Daily Caller. PolitiFact quietly retracts Pants on Fire lab leak fact check. PolitiFact retracted a fact check from September 2020 on Monday that had stated a Hong Kong virologist was pushing a, quote, debunked conspiracy theory, end quote, when she said on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show that COVID-19 was a lab-created virus. Virologist and former University of Hong Kong postdoctoral fellow Dr. Li Mingyan had claimed on Carlson's show that not only was COVID-19 a man-made virus created in a Wuhan lab, but it was also released intentionally into the human population by the Chinese government. The claim is inaccurate and ridiculous, so we rate it pants on fire, PolitiFact's now retracted fact check stated. The retracted fact check stated that Facebook posts that contained the comments Jan made on Carlson's show had been flagged as part of the social media network's efforts to curb fake news and misinformation. PolitiFact uploaded a copy of the retracted fact check to its archive with an editor's note explaining why it removed it from the website. Yada, yada, yada. They're backtracking, okay? They didn't know. There's never been a legitimate thorough investigation into the origins of this thing, okay? I don't care what the World Health Organization says. They're not God. Social media can treat the WHO like God. They can treat Fauci like God. They can treat the CDC like God. But those entities are not God, okay? They are not the final do-all and say-all, especially when there has not been a legitimate, thorough investigation into this. Them telling you that it is objective fact that it originated naturally is a blatant lie. It's a blatant lie. There is no solid evidence that this originated naturally. None whatsoever, and there was never a legitimate investigation done. We go back right here, and they tell us this. We go back to the very first, article that I had up here. They did not investigate the Chinese labs. The World Health Organization did not investigate this. But yet you're not allowed to question what the World Health Organization tells you, or what CNN tells you, or what MSNBC tells you, okay? You're not allowed to question that. You're not allowed to question what Fauci tells you, okay? You're not allowed to question what the CDC tells you. If you do, then you're probably just some schizo, tinfoil conspiracy theorist, or you're a terrorist, okay? You're probably a white supremacist or something, okay? I'm going off on a tangent. But you got PolitiFact now, a fact checker that is retracting their fact check. Even over a year ago, many people, including Ben Swan and others, reported on this. Australian vaccine scientist says coronavirus lab theory can't be ruled out. Okay, this was posted 24th of May of last year. Speculation about the origins of the novel coronavirus continues as Australian scientists insist the possibility it came from a lab can't be ruled out. In an effort to look for a potential vaccine, researchers at Flinders University and La Trobe University used computer modeling to better understand how the virus spreads and found it to be uniquely adapted for transmissions to humans. The SARS-CoV-2 virus, which results in the COVID-19 disease, binds to human cells more potently than any of the tested animal species using the computer modeling, including bats. Quote, which argues against bats being a direct source of the human virus, end quote, says lead author Professor Nikolai Petrivsky. In a paper published this month, and this was last year, but yet to be peer-reviewed, the Australian scientists pointed to a number of reasons why the virus became so well adapted to humans, such as convergent evolution after exposure to human cells, rare mutations that mix two species genes, and exposure to human cells very early in the pandemic. And that paper I've got up right here. And I'm going to leave all of these links you see up here. I'm going to leave them in the description so you can see them for yourselves. Before we end the video, which will probably be taken down by YouTube, Springer Link published March 25th of this year. Should we discount the laboratory origin of COVID-19? Let me zoom in on this. Here. There is a near consensus view that severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, the causative agent of COVID-19, has a natural zoonotic origin. However, several characteristics of SARS-CoV-2 taken together are not easily explained by a natural zoonotic origin hypothesis. These include a low rate of evolution in the early phase of transmission, the lack of evidence for recombination events, a high pre-existing binding to human angiotensin-converting enzyme 2, ACE2, a novel furin cleavage site insert, a flat glycoside binding domain of the spike protein which conflicts with host evasion survival patterns exhibited by other coronaviruses, and high human mouse peptide mimicry. Initial assumptions against a laboratory origin, by contrast, have remained unsubstantiated. Furthermore, over a year after the initial outbreak in Wuhan, there is still no clear evidence of zoonotic transfer from a bat or intermediate species. Given the immense social and economic impact of this pandemic, identifying the true origin of SARS-CoV-2 is fundamental to preventing future outbreaks. The search for SARS-CoV-2's origins should include an open and unbiased inquiry into a possible laboratory origin, and I'll stop there, which we have not had. We have not gotten that. Once again, there has not been a thorough investigation into this. So for the World Health Organization, the CDC, for Fauci, or the mainstream media, for anyone else to stand up and tell you objectively that this virus originated naturally is complete bullcrap. There is nothing to back them saying that. Nothing. There has not been a credible investigation into this. They cannot objectively tell you that. And the fact that the mainstream media and social media treats it as such, to the point that if you dare question it, or you post anything contrary to that narrative, to that subjective, relative narrative, they will ban your social media account. They will ban you. They will take your social media account down. They will censor you. You will be mocked and attacked in the mainstream media. So, how dare you question the almighty state is basically what it comes down to. But now a lot of them are backtracking, and now you have outlets like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal coming out with information that is pointing us to believe that this very likely, possibly originated from a lab. So there's the information. Do with it what you will. This video will likely be taken down, so I suggest if you are watching this now that you either download the video or you go in and copy the links as fast as you can before they are also removed. All right, everybody. God bless. Have a great week.